What is up, guys, and welcome to the first video of the new content I'm doing for the channel. And as I'm sure you can tell from the title of this video, that it's a recap of what's happened in DC's Rebirth so far. I just want to preface this by saying I do not know everything about comics, so I will more than likely get stuff wrong or miss something. I didn't read all of like the New 52 or any of that shit, so I know barely anything to do with that. But with that said, in this video I'm going to be covering DC Universe number 1, Batman, Green Arrow, The Flash, Wonder Woman and Superman. I'm not going to cover Aquaman or Green Lanterns because I haven't read all of that yet, so I'll leave that for another time. There's spoilers ahead, so if you haven't read any of these issues, or if you just want to hear what I have to say about one in particular, I'll put timestamps in the description and you can just skip to that one. DC kicked off this new arc, I suppose you could call it, with DC Universe number 1. Okay, so the main plot point of this one shot is pre-Flashpoint, Wally West is stuck in the Speed Force and he's like desperately trying to get out. He just can't leave though, because we learned that he needs someone to remember who he is so he can get out. He went to everyone that he could and no one could remember him. Even Batman and Linda Park, who has been his like longtime girlfriend from comics previous to all that. And then he finally went to Barry Allen, the Flash, who was trying to get to remember him, knowing that he was his last chance to come back. But that was to no avail. So Wally was just standing there talking to Barry, saying goodbye and all this stuff, and thank you for an amazing life and all this experience that this version of Barry does not remember. So it looked like this version of Wally West was finished. He was fading away, and just when you thought he was gone, in one of the most heartwarming moments I have ever witnessed in a comic, with literally seconds to spare before Wally was gone forever, Barry said his name, he reached out and grabbed his arm. It was an incredible moment. Wally cried, Barry cried, I cried. It was beautiful. After that, Wally and Barry were discussing how this could have happened, how he could have forgotten someone whom he'd known for so long. They weren't completely sure. Barry thought it was his fault because of the Flashpoint, but Wally thinks it was something else, or someone else. It then cuts to the Batcave where you see Batman walking around with some dialogue from Wally saying that whoever's responsible is more powerful than even Darkseid. So you see Batman looking around the Batcave at different items that he's got, including the giant Joker playing card, which to the best of my knowledge has never been explained in any comic, so just leave that there I guess. He then notices something wedged in the bat wall. He then pulls out his bat screwdriver and bat jerks it out. I should rephrase that, but I will not. It turns out to be the smiley face pin with the blood drop on it, which is associated with the comedian from Watchmen. Wally simultaneously says that he thinks they're being quote-unquote watched, wink wink, and then there's some shots of what appears to be Mars and a broken watch that's being fixed, like floating mid-air. And there's a bit of dialogue, someone saying, I did the right thing, didn't I? It worked out in the end, blah blah blah. And then someone says, nothing ends, Adrian, nothing ever ends. Adrian, presumably Adrian Veidt, who is Ozymandias from Watchmen. So Dr. Manhattan and Ozymandias are chilling on Mars. I could have wrapped that up so much quicker than I did. Now you can just jump into any of the Rebirth series without reading this entire 80-page one-shot, like the Justice League, which is out today. Not a sponsor. Alrighty, so Batman Rebirth and number 1. Basically what happens is he's training Duke Thomas, but he's not training him to be Robin, he wants him to be something else. He gets a swanky new yellow suit, but he has to get a swanky new codename to match. So apart from training Duke, or Duke, however it's said, Batman has to try and stop Calendar Man, and he has to stop a plane from crashing into Gotham. He successfully stopped Calendar Man, as you'd probably expect, even though they make Calendar Man way better than he has been in the past. I'd recommend checking it out, just because I'm not going to go into too much detail about this. So yeah, he stops Calendar Man, and now he has to try and stop the plane, which has completely lost control, and he has to get on top of the plane and he basically has to steer it so it doesn't crash into every single building in the center of Gotham. And he gets just out over kind of the bay and the plane just kind of stops. So he's probably thinking that Superman turned up to help him out, but as we learn, it wasn't Superman. It was these two unknown characters we hadn't seen before. The man does resemble Superman and the woman resembles Supergirl. So the man introduces themselves as Gotham and Gotham Girl, and they're saying that this is their city and they're here to save it, and that's where it ends. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes with these two presumably metahumans, because I doubt they're Kryptonian or anything like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what direction they take with that. Alright, so next up is Superman Rebirth and number 1. So this starts off with the death of Superman. Well, the New 52 Superman, and then the return of pre-Flashpoint Superman, I think. As I said, I don't know everything, fam. So the bearded Superman is waiting in the crypt where New 52 Superman is buried, and he's like, I'm just waiting for him to come back, because that's what happened with me and all that stuff. And in issue number 1, it's just the new old Superman teaching his son John how to control his powers. He's not really getting the hang of it, and he ends up killing the dog, and the new girl next door sees that, and that's about it. I did say these would be quick. Okay, so on to Green Arrow. Basically, all that happens is he meets Dinah Lance, aka the Black Canary. They try to stop this human trafficking organization that's being run by the man who's in charge of Queen Industries. And Oliver gets killed by his half-sister, Emmy, and Shadow, who's her mother, I think. Pretty unclear what happens there with that situation. Also, this is the first time I can recall any mention of Oliver ever having a half-sister, so there's that. On to Wonder Woman. So as we learned in Universe Rebirth, Diana has a twin brother named Jason, who could be Darkseid's son, possibly. It's not 100% clear on whether he is or not, but it kind of seems like it. Anyway, it seems Diana wasn't born the way we usually think she was, with the sand and prayers and your vitamins. It appears that she's actually Zeus's daughter, but the story keeps on changing as she constantly says throughout. She ends up going to Olympus to try and get some answers on whether she actually is Zeus's daughter and all that stuff. Except it's not Olympus. What a twist. She's actually in Bwunda, or however that's pronounced, I'm not 100% sure, which is where Steve Trevor is leading a mission, and his commander Etta Okandi accuses him of telling Diana the location of the mission so he could get a bit of help from Wonder Woman, I guess. He denies it and all that, whatever, that doesn't really matter. That's kind of like the side story to this. So Diana ends up making her way through the jungle of Bwunda. She's actually looking for someone, as you can tell from like the first page of this issue. She says, "I know you're here, we need to talk, blah blah blah." The story keeps changing. She says that so many times, it's ridiculous. So she's making her way through the forest, and then she ends up getting attacked by these like man-bat type creature guys. Fends them off, and then she gets attacked by someone else, and she's trying to talk to them. And it turns out that that's Cheetah, or Barbara Ann Minerva, or however you pronounce that. And she wants to get some answers so she can find her way back to Themyscira, because, as she said multiple times, the story keeps changing. And finally, last but not least, we have The Flash. Okay, so Barry Allen starts having these like flashes, excuse the pun, and we see Zoom and like Godspeed very briefly, and then he has this encounter with Wally West that we saw in Universe Rebirth. Barry wants to tell Iris about the whole thing, and Wally says no, it's not a good idea, and he's like, oh, she's my friend, she's only his friend, which is real weird. Barry ends up going to see Batman to see if he can help, and they start to investigate it with the letter from Flashpoint that he gave Bruce from Thomas Wayne from that whole situation. So Batman says we should investigate this together, and they're doing it without the Justice League's help. And then we also see how Barry gets his powers again for like the millionth time. It was fine though, it was only a couple of panels, it was pretty short. Alright, so Barry goes to meet with Iris and Wally West, the New 52 version of Wally West, not the pre-Flashpoint one that started this whole thing. And then he sees that there's a fire and a Star Labs transport getting robbed. So Barry gets up, he leaves, he goes to the scene of the fire so he can help there and get everyone out of the building and all that fun stuff. So he does that, and then while that's happening, his friend and Detective August is at the scene of the Star Labs heist, and the gang that's holding up the transport is called the Black Hole. So August recognizes the symbol that's on the chest of the gang members from the scene of his brother's murder. Barry's racing over there to try and save him, and just when he thinks it's too late, there's a bolt of lightning that hits August. You see this yellow figure attacking the Black Hole member that was about to shoot August. He then wonders what happened, and I think we can safely assume that August becomes Godspeed, and I'm going to guess that he gets trained maybe by Barry and possibly works with him for a certain amount of time. Something might go wrong and he turns on Barry. This is just all a guess, I'm not sure, I haven't read anything that says otherwise, so that's what I'm going with. Alright, that's it, I am done. That is my recap of DC Rebirth so far. If you enjoyed the video at all, leave a like and a comment, and maybe even subscribe for future videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.